Okay. The term secularism then becomes very important also. Can we develop moral systems independent of church, temple, mosque? The secularization of values continues ever since the Renaissance. If you look at Western Europe today is post-religious, post-Christian, post-religious. And the same thing is happening very rapidly in the United States. There's a great cultural war in the United States, but the secularization of values has already happened, but the secularization of society is a very significant demographic change that is happening in the last 20 years. Let's move on to the next slide. Now, I'm using slides because not everybody can speak English, or perhaps are versed in English, so I thought if I put things on the slide, you'd be able to see it. So broadly speaking, we've been focusing in this Science of the Public on the ethics of humanism. And what does that mean? Well, I've done a summary here that my colleagues have not seen yet. The first is the autonomy of the individual is the central value. Humanistic ethics is committed to maximizing freedom of choice. And that this is true, of course, open, democratic societies in the world, which allow maximum freedom for individuals to develop their own beliefs, their own style of life, as part of the civic virtues of democracy. So second, the humanist defense of individual self-determination does not mean that humanists condone any kind of human conduct. We believe that individuals should make their own choices, and the best citizen is an educated citizen who can use critical thinking. But however, third, humanist ethical philosophers, I'll leave it on, move it back in the middle.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Humanist ethical philosophers have defended an ethic of excellence. And many critics of humanistic ethics think that anything goes. And the implications of 20th century in the Western world has been a great effort to deal with same-sex marriage, to recognize homosexuality, probably is genetic, and so freedom of gay people, lesbians is part of that. But we defend the notion that you can develop standards of excellence within an individual's life. Fourth, humanists recognize our responsibilities and duties to others. There's so many people who worry that in this new morality of the 21st century, where individual liberty is present, that this would be a breakdown of all standards. And we say no, there are responsibilities and duties. Fifth, humanists believe, secular humanists, planetary humanists, that in the virtues of empathy and caring, that these are essential for ethical conduct. Six, high in the humanist agenda is the need to provide moral education for children and young people. The hypothesis that we have is that the human animal, the human organism, is potentially moral, and whether these moral inclinations will develop depends on the nurturing care within the family or the tribe or the society or education. And so the great effort is to develop moral growth. Piaget has argued for that, Lawrence Kohlberg, and many others. Moral growth of development and development of the child becomes very crucial. And the humanists believe that, number five, the virtues of empathy or caring are essential for ethical conduct. Now, we have always argued reason is crucial in ethics. Critical thinking should be the basis of education. Teach children how to think, not what to think, but how to think. But we also recognize in morality you need empathy, and you need to cultivate that, and that becomes part of moral education. Secular moral education, independent of authority or imposition. That's all right. Sixth, high on the humanist agenda is the need to provide moral education for children and young people. Seventh, humanists recommend that we use reason in framing our ethical judgments. So what we're arguing is, first you need to develop character and empathy, caring for others, but also cognition. Moral cognition becomes crucial. Teach, and I think that, are you going to talk about that today? Yes. Okay, but I know Stephen Law, who is from England, has written a book on that, and I've published a number of books on that too, the need to develop moral cognition. Eighth, humanists maintain, scientific humanists, that we should be prepared to modify ethical principles and values in the light of current realities and future expectations. So, although we inherit moral traditions from the past, and many of them are based upon the wisdom of the race, nonetheless, they're open to modification of the light of social change and new understanding of who and what we are. And we should be prepared to modify our principles. And there's this great controversy historically, women's rights, great battle in the 19th century, and so on. And ninth, humanists argue that we should respect an ethic of principles, namely the notion that anything is justified to achieve good ends. You suffered that for 40 years. People said anything was justified to achieve so-called utopian society. We argue that is not the case, and that it's essential that certain principles that are well tested as ethical principles stand. And next slide, please. Okay, you just did that. You just did that slide. Before earlier. All right, we're faced with two moralities today, actually, in many countries of the world. People who believe in absolute God-given standards, the humanists who believe in individual freedom and autonomy, consonant with the need for social order to some extent. Theism enters into the bedroom. The humanists believe in the right of privacy of an individual over his own personal life. The religious are intolerant of sin, and for the humanists, tolerance of alternative lifestyles become crucial. Well, now I see that, all right, so there are also two competing moralities, and particularly with libertarian free market economies, human beings are self-interest, selfish and egotistical, versus the notion that human beings are capable of altruism, empathy, caring for others. I think both are true. Following Bentham and Hobbes, or self-interest, we want to develop enlightened self-interest. And so here is the principle of privacy that you put on, that you've indicated, a whole number of things that we battled for throughout the world. The inward domain of conscience should be preserved. Confidentiality is crucial, that information about individuals should not be divulged without their permission. Control over one's body is vital. Sexual preference, the great battles over adultery, sodomy, homosexuality, prostitution, pornography. In a libertarian society, you defend them. Reproductive freedom, of course, birth control, abortion, artificial insemination. The theologians are opposed. The humanists who are Democrats and believe in